On Monday, February 24th, 1930, a group of 24 local businessmen gathered at the Cabin Grill on Colony Street for the first regular meeting of the Kiwanis Club of Meriden. Led by Charter President Carl M. Diefenbach, these men were motivated to give back to their local community and serve children, in particular, underprivileged youth. Later that year, on May 12th, more than 200 attended a banquet and gala at the Masonic Temple to celebrate the chartering of this new Kiwanis Club. A room decorated with blue and white streamers, potted palms, baskets of roses set the stage for toasts from neighboring Kiwanis clubs, remarks from local officials, and the presentation of special gifts. The sponsoring Kiwanis Club of Manchester presented the new Meriden Club with a bell, which we still use today, and Division I Lieutenant Governor Clarence P. Quimby presented President Diefenbach with the official charter, which is still present at all board meetings and special events. 85 years later, the Kiwanis Club of Meriden has indeed found success and longevity. Since our chartering in 1930, we have demonstrated a vibrant commitment to serving children and our community. Signature fundraisers, including Kiwanis Capers, now entering its 64th year, Peanut Day, and selling fried dough at the Daffodil Festival, raise substantial funds. Our education programs, such as Kiwanis Reads to Kids, the Walter Deptula Essay and Speaking Contest, Education Awards, and now the citywide Spelling Bee, seek to inspire the youth of Meriden. And our service leadership programs, which motivate youth to become competent, capable, and compassionate leaders, are now present in 14 schools and organizations across Meriden and Connecticut. Today, the more than 75 members of the Kiwanis Club of Meriden and the Kiwanians who have all come before us continue the tradition of those 24 businessmen who gathered at the cabin to embark on a new journey of service. As we celebrate our 85th anniversary and Kiwanis International celebrates its centennial year, I invite you to join me on a journey through our club's history. This documentary features recollections, memories, and stories from our own members who shed light on multiple eras of our history. From service projects to fundraisers to meetings and more, you will hear the stories and traditions that make our club unique. I hope you enjoy this special tribute to the Kiwanis Club of Meriden as we remember the past, celebrate the present, and look to the future.
I joined Kiwanis in 1976, and I joined it because my father told me to.
I joined Kiwanis in 1997. I had been looking for some way to give back to the community, and friends of mine kept telling me, join Kiwanis, join Kiwanis. Well, I'd been putting them off, but I finally was convinced to go to a luncheon, and it's been a wild ride since then. I've really enjoyed it.
I joined Kiwanis in 1948.
87, I think, and I was in my office and Mike Rody arrived and said, come to lunch, and I said, oh, okay, because I would go with anyone if they were going to buy me lunch. And he said, well, it's sort of like I'm going to buy you lunch, but not really. He said, we're going to Kiwanis, and that's how I got in.
I've been in Kiwanis for 17 years now.
I joined Kiwanis, I think around 1970 or maybe a couple of years before.
I joined Kiwanis officially in October of 2011, but I had been involved since 2003, September 2003, when I joined Key Club.
I joined Kiwanis about 12 years ago.
That's a good question, because my husband had belonged to Kiwanis long before I did, because women weren't allowed in. But I was in the show for approximately 35 years with him. And then I became a member, and so that brings it, it's my 16th year.
I joined Kiwanis in 1969.
Yes, I joined Kiwanis in January of 1961.
Well, I joined Kiwanis in 1990, but I kind of went in the back door. Joe was asked to join. And of course, Joe said I was Rotary once and I'm not joining any more clubs. So I looked at Marv Beloff, who was doing the asking. Marv, is there anything wrong with a woman joining? He said, oh, no, no, they're all invited now. I said, I'd like to join. I said, I've been thinking about doing something on my own, and I think this would be wonderful. So that's how it started. In fact, Dick Leary also decided to be co-sponsor. So I had two lovely gentlemen taking me to the first few meetings, and it was quite impressive, quite nice.
Ray Parmentier was my sponsor. Well, Ray is an amazing guy. He was always devoted to the community. Again, very, very community-minded. And I appreciate all he did for me, bringing me into the club.
Dave Elkin was my Kiwanis sponsor. The reason that I joined Kiwanis was because my daughters got involved in the highlighters. I didn't know anything about the Meriden Kiwanis Club, and Dave Elkin at the time was there every night watching the show get produced. And I got talking to him. I loved what my daughters were involved in, and that's my entry into the Kiwanis discussion and my membership.
I joined at the request of Walter Deptula, who in those days was Mr. Kiwanis. And nobody says no to Walter Deptula. And wonderful guy. And it was one of the better things that I did in life. Oh, Walter Deptula was a remarkable guy. Walter spent a great deal of his free time in Kiwanis. He was a very active member.
My sponsor when I joined Kiwanis was Maureen Bilger.
Well, let's see. I think my father, and I don't remember who the other one was. Remember, I didn't have a clue then about what I was doing, but I enjoyed the club, but how I got into it, and it must have been my father.
My Kiwanis sponsor was Dr. Rob Prescott Ezekson. He was one of the persons who had been trying to recruit me into Kiwanis, and they kept telling me all the time, you got to join Kiwanis. It's a great organization. We give back to the community, we deal with children, and we do this fun show called Capers.
I've been involved with the Kiwanis family since 2003. When I joined the Maloney High School Key Club. And I spent 4 years in Key Club, which were some of the best experiences of my life. So when I got to college at the University of Virginia, I decided to continue with my experience, and I joined Circle K International. And 4 years later, when I returned to Meriden, I had a little bee in my ear, June Vandal, who was on her way up to being president, who asked me if I would join the Kiwanis Club of Meriden in 2011. Kiwanis had been such an integral part of my growing up. I felt like I had been growing up in the Kiwanis family, if you will. And that was one of the highlights of coming back to Meriden, was being able to join the Kiwanis Club that had sponsored me when I was in Key Club.
I was only in 5th grade, and I was at Girl Scout camp on Paddock Avenue. And Catherine McNulty was the leader. She ran the camp, and I was a camper. And she said, we're going to the cabin restaurant for lunch. And I went, again, I'll go anywhere for a free lunch, okay. And so, because I'm so shy and so quiet, off we went to the cabin, all men, no ladies, and she gave the speech, and then she said, and I brought one of my campers, Maureen Mulligan, and she's going to tell you about camp. And I got up and I said, oh, the best thing about camp is that we get to go swimming every day, and we would love to have a canoe, but we don't have a canoe. So maybe Kiwanis could get us a canoe. And I sat down. The next morning, a very tall, skinny, dark-haired gentleman arrived with a canoe on top of his car. And that's my connection with Kiwanis. Ask and you get. I mean, it was great. And I've been a fan ever since of Kiwanis and George Hamrah.
I had my neighbor, it was Bessie Boynton's men's shop, and Clarence Carr was a Kiwanian, and he asked me to join. And we were meeting at the Smokes, I think it was called Smokes Tavern down on Hanover Street. Smokes Restaurant, Smoke Hallback was the owner. And I think the luncheon then was $1.10.
Well, I joined Kiwanis because I wanted to be of service to the community, and also I wanted to learn the community of Meriden. I was a fairly newcomer from Massachusetts, so those were the two reasons that Kiwanis was for me.
When they allowed women, I finally said, well, okay, I guess it's time I join so I can get involved in other things.
The reason I joined Kiwanis was I was invited to join Rotary by the president of Home Bank, and we went out to dinner or lunch, and he told me all the things that we could do with Rotary and how much it was going to cost me. And right then and there I decided I was not joining Rotary because I was on limited income at the time, being fairly young. And I was talking with Al Russo, who happened to be the city treasurer, and he was a Kiwanian. And he invited me to join Kiwanis, and I joined.
Yeah, absolutely.
I joined Kiwanis because Kiwanis has been a part of my life since I was a child. My father was a Kiwanian. My mother is an honorary Kiwanian. And I remember way back when I was a child coming to the Kiwanis show and watching and wanting to be a part of this wonderful group.
I joined Kiwanis because my landlord, Dr. David Park, was a member of Kiwanis. And everyone that took an office rent in his building became a Kiwanian.
The fondest memory would probably be when I was inducted as president. I was president in 93 and 94. And a lot happened that year, not only as the first woman president, but Deke Lippert, who was the key club advisor to Platt High School, died that year. And I was trying to get, 94, I was trying to get an advisor from the club, and I wasn't getting any help. So I decided I would become advisor until we got someone. Well, 17 years later, I finally had to retire from that. I love the kids. The age. I was afraid at first because as a school teacher, I liked the little ones. They're easier to handle. But here I was in high school, and I didn't know what to expect.
I have to say, one of the funniest memories I have, not maybe the fondest, one of the funniest is when I was running for treasurer of the district. We had 13 nuns working for me, and I happened to be one of the nuns. And we drove the people in the hotel crazy at the convention because they were all nuns running all around the place, some with bare feet. It's kind of a silly thing, but they were doing everything. They were taking collections, and matter of fact, a lot of them were still in the club. I'm the only male left from the group in the club, but a number of the women are still in the club. One of the nicest memories is that the convention where I was elected governor, we had to have 30 members of our club there. It was so nice to have so much support for the club. It was really fantastic, and I guess one of the nicest memories I have is when I was governor. I had the opportunity to have with me at one of our shows, the Capers, Ito Torres, who was the international president when I was governor. And Ito came to the show. He and his wife were at the show. Ito actually took part in the show. He was on the stage, and he did. It was like a cowboy number that we did, and he was up there on the stage doing his thing. I think there was some chickens involved too, but I don't remember exactly.
When we had our 50th anniversary show, which was back in 2001, we had as a guest in the audience a special man. But what a pleasure it was to introduce to the audience a gentleman who was the president of all of the Kiwanis clubs in the world, coming to our Kiwanis Capers show from the Philippines.
Fondest memories is just meeting new people, and within weeks they were like your best friend. And I have to say, Dorothy and Dave Elkin took me under their wing, and I had nothing to worry about as far as what Kiwanis was about, what I should do. They just were wonderful to me, and I feel they're still, after 25 years, we're still good friends. It's been a wonderful trip, meeting people and knowing that they're always there, and you go out of your way for each other for that reason.
My fondest memory of Kiwanis, or my Kiwanis moment, had to be the time that I went to my first international convention. It was in New Orleans, and we're sitting in the convention center, and the program's about to begin, and it starts with a parade of flags. And at that point, hundreds of flags are paraded in to show all the countries where Kiwanis clubs exist. And I was never so amazed to see that Kiwanis, this one little organization that I thought was just in Meriden, Connecticut, was actually a global organization providing service to children all over the world. Because I found out that what we do locally gets expanded globally, and we really made an impact all over the world.
It was January the 3rd, 1979, and there were people like Dick Boynton and Jack Shorr and Ed Murphy and Charlie Douglas and Dick Leary. These were all ex-presidents, as a matter of fact. Jim Garfield, Tom Cirillo, myself, Eddie Naiman, Don Collier, who was the minister at the First United Methodist Church, Bill Anderson, who was the president after me and was one of my very best friends, Dave Jones, Dr. Mangiaracina, Major Wickens, who was a Salvation Army member, Tony Amato, Len Bialik, Al Cirillo, Wendell Evans, who was the president at that time of one of the banks downtown, Tony Parisi, who was a legend in the city of Meriden, Dean Lippett, Deke Lippett, who used to play the part of a man and a woman in the Kiwanis Capers and was just wonderful, and his wife, of course, Priscilla, has been in every single Capers since they started. Larry Liberty, another past president, Walt Deptula, Ray Parmentier, Joe Zabora. All of these people, as I mention their names, it brings back lots of memories.
One of the fun things that we did was when President Eileen Bongiovanni was going to start her term, she didn't want to have an installation. She wanted a coronation, and she wanted to be known as Queen Eileen. So what we did for her installation dinner was to set up a whole coronation. We dressed her as a queen. We dressed her husband, Terry Bongiovanni, as the king, and I was able to get costumes from a local theater group, and we had people dressed up in medieval costumes, and we had a lot of fun just doing the ordinary, but in a fun way.
I think my fondest memory was actually my first introduction to Kiwanis when Ray brought me as a guest to the Thursday noon meeting, and I was so impressed with the cross section of Meriden that were there, and we'd have 40 or 50 members at a luncheon meeting routinely. One memory that stands out is George Hamrah swinging on a rope and unable to let go to get down, just swinging back and forth and back and forth.
And then we had a starlet show, like an amateur hour. Starlet show was held for 2 or 3 years, and we gave away prizes to the people who were voted the winners, you know. We had the show downtown at Lowe's Poli. Then we had our show later on at Lowe's Poli on West Main Street. I don't know if you knew that. I believe it was 61, right across from Meriden Travel. Dr. Kaplan, Max Kaplan, who was a doctor in town, had an office on West Main Street with his brother. He came up to show. He had seen Harriet Hale and her husband. He was going to name her Harriet Hale and Bert Lingner. He saw a show that they put on, I believe it was in West Hartford. And he came in, asked people about the show, and told people about the show, what it would be like, you know. And he asked everybody. He asked me, and he told me what's going to happen. I said, don't forget about the show. I don't think it'll work. So in the meantime, I was proven to be wrong.
My fondest memory as a Kiwanian is the fellowship and doing good for our community. Being there and seeing the excitement on a child's face when we do the bicycle rodeo and they've completed the course and they are so proud of themselves and we've given them the tools to be safe.
My fondest memories are charitable work and also being involved in the Kiwanis Capers.
Was very nervous behind the curtain. Ellen Mazzo was standing to my right, and she knew I was nervous, and the curtain was getting ready to open for the first Kiwanis show that I was involved in, and she said some things to me that were very meaningful that I will remember till this day. And to me, it was a friend talking to a friend to calm them down, somebody who had years of experience in Kiwanis and doing shows. She was just a wonderful person, and to me it was the essence of what a Kiwanian is.
I think my favorite memory, which kind of ties it all together, was back when I was in Key Club. I was a Board of Ed rep, and I used to sit next to Ellen Mazza, who was secretary of the Board of Ed. And we would always talk about Kiwanis stuff. And we started this plan to charter a K-Kids. And we were going to charter it at the elementary school I went to, Israel Putnam. And unfortunately, Ellen passed away before we were able to realize that. And Eileen Bongiovanni stepped up, and together she and I were able to charter the first K-Kids in Meriden. I think one of my favorite memories about my connections to the Kiwanis Club of Meriden is that Kiwanis Builds a Better World song by Carl Wheaton. That song defines why we're in Kiwanis. It's not just that it has the acronym that spells it out, but that idea of people helping people. And I'm so happy that we've returned that song to the show and that now people across the world use that also as a way of defining what Kiwanis means to them. And I think that's one of the most special traditions that this club has, is that legacy that Carl Wheaton left us.
And I think a lot of the fond memories come from the performance in the Kiwanis Capers.
The show brought everyone together, and I'm glad we're still doing it. Everyone was friendly, and the men loved to do funny things, you know, dress up as a woman's dance line. I remembered my husband being a fairy with the pink tights and the pink fluffy tutu, you know, all that. The first time I was in the show, Johanna had me tap dancing. I never danced in my life. She had me tap dancing. I did a routine with Doc Roccapriore, and I tap danced with him, and the whole line. It was fun.
What was that like?
The first Caper show was, again, an eye-opener for me. It started out with a giant giveaway before the show, and there were probably 200 items that were given away by raffle tickets. And I saw these thousands of bags coming out, and the feeding frenzy of the audience to buy these bags. And what was inside the bags, there was one grand prize, which was a 13-inch TV at that time. Oh my goodness, yes, I did. Seeing I was a baby of the club that year, I think I was 25 years old, they had decided that I would have to go down the aisle through the audience with just a diaper on, no shirt. I don't know, wow. And I had a bottle with a nipple in my mouth, and it was a nice light brown colored liquid, so you can use your imagination. And that was my real entry into the Capers. I've never been the same since. You rehearse with your fellow Kiwanians for 10 weeks, probably almost twice a week, and you really build up a closeness.
Well, my first show, I just got in the club, and the practice had already started. Everybody was rehearsing, and Marvin Beloff comes up to me and says, "Do you want to be a carrot or a broccoli?" And I said, "What?" There were so many things that were unique. Well, then we had the men that did the three tenors, and they did a Hawaiian dance, very scantily clad, which the audience loved. If they came out in their underwear, they loved it. So no matter what was done, as long as the men came out in tutus or partially naked, they were the hit of the show. You could go on if you talk about each show, because each show brought something funny.
I forgot about this. Do you know that I actually sang a solo with Jack Shorr? Oh my God. I mean, it's a wonder his whole career didn't go right down the tubes. And we practiced in his office. Oh my God. Yeah, that was really a riot.
And then we had some real talent. I didn't forget that, because on my mind for the show, most of the time we had our own kind of talent, but we had tap dancers. And one of them was Jan Wheaton. Jan is the wife of the late Carl Wheaton, who directed 28 shows, and she knew how to dance. And her daughter Karen Kelly knew how to dance. And Karen Kelly was one of the tap dancers who rose to the top and became the director of our 50th anniversary show. Jan Carabetta, she is the wife of Dick Carabetta, who's a member, and he, of course, is an accountant in town. And we had, of course, Cheryl O'Connor, who had been our choreographer and then is still extremely active in the club, Nancy Rody. Nancy Rody was an incredible tap dancer. So every so often in our funny show, we had real quality entertainment. And while we were doing those things in the show, we were mindful of our theme that Kiwanis builds a better world. Because what were we doing? We were raising funds and having fun, and then pouring it back to the community.
My favorite Kiwanis fundraiser is the Kiwanis Capers, which is our biggest fundraiser of the year. And the reason for that is twofold. We are not only giving back to our community, but it also creates fellowship within our club. I certainly have special memories. One of my fondest, it was being in a horse costume with our president now, Brian Cofrancesco. I was lucky enough to be the head. He was the rear end.
Many of the fond memories involve the Capers. We just had such fun. I've always believed that the Capers was the secret, the magic, actually, for the Kiwanis Club. And it was a way to bring a group of diverse people together for enough time to get to know each other well enough to become really good friends and to really love one another. And it was something that was very important to me. But there were people like George Hamrah, who was always the star of the show. New England District brought the show to Boston, and George did his thing, and he sang on stage, and there was a professional actor and singer in the audience who came backstage and said to George, he said, you know, he said, I have never seen anything like it. He said, I have never met an actor who was able to fake the fact that he couldn't sing as well as you did. That was the most remarkable acting job I have ever seen. Little did he know that he wasn't acting.
We had trips to the convention. That was a big deal. Yeah. And I sang, I'm proud to say I sang in the Sheraton Boston Hotel. And talk about nerve. In the meantime, we had a bus then. We went up and we had a nice time at that convention.
He once was dressed as Tarzan. And I was at the ladder that he went up 3 rungs, and he was scared to death, and he was hanging onto a rope, and the rope brought him out over the stage and back to the ladder where I'm to catch him and take him off the rope and off the ladder. He was welded to the rope. He couldn't let go. And so he swung out 3 times before I was able to actually withdraw him from the rope. There was something that Tom Flynn did, Dr. Tom Flynn, and he did this Italian accent about Jack and a Beanstalker. And when he passed away, a couple of the guys said, Marv, could you do it? And I did. And it started off with something like, once upon a time there was a kid named Jack.
There's so many magical moments from the shows. But then to do the men's drag line, of course, put it in a whole nother dimension. So it was supposed to be funny. I think the guys always tried to, at rehearsals, we try to make it serious. We try to get the dance steps down. We try to get the routine, when at the end of the day, if we ever really did that, it wouldn't be funny. And so I think off stage, my favorite parts are the intensity that we all try to get together. We all try to do it right. I think we all know we're never going to do it right. And therein lies the real humor, but we really try to do it. The audience will never believe it. They probably think we go up there to purposely flub it up. And I'm here to tell you, we don't try to flub it up. It's our natural inability to do it that I think is probably I have more fun with that, I think, than the actual performances.
One of the fun things about Capers for the audience was not only the show, but what happened in between the first and the second act. And that was the bags. And so it became a Kiwanis tradition to make that exciting for the audience. And it was fun for us to fill those bags. One Saturday before Kiwanis Capers, we would get together at a location. We'd have shoppers go out ahead of time, and they would buy the trinkets and other small gifts that would be in the bags. We'd have another crew go out and talk to local businesses, and we would get the donations of the larger gifts and items that would be raffled off. Because basically the bags were a raffle, and you can either get some smaller prizes or the larger prizes, which started out with DVD players and VCRs and wound up being TVs as we went along. And it was through the generosity of various businesses that we had great prizes to give out, whether it was lamps, whether it was ties from the local men's clothing store. People really contributed, and the people in the community, our audience, loved to get the bags.
Well, it gave me a lot of exposure to people, and I made more friends with the show. After so many years of the show, I see people, and they would look at me and say, oh, I know, I've seen you, I don't really know them. And I would go over and talk to them and say, they see me in the show and enjoy it. So I go over and say, thanks for coming. If it wasn't for you coming, we wouldn't have it. It's the first thing I always, you have to thank people that are helping you, whatever you're doing. And I know the Kiwanians, the people that came to the show and told me I did a good job, I thank them for coming. If you didn't come, we wouldn't have a show.
It means camaraderie. The show is the glue. I feel the show is the glue that keeps this club together.
Peanut Day was here long before I was. Matter of fact, since I've been in the club, we haven't done it the way they used to do it in the old days. They used to have downtown. They'd have trailers set up there, and that was peanut headquarters. And they sell peanuts all day long. And at the end of the day, they had a parade, and threw peanuts out to people light up along the streets. We were throwing peanuts out to the people along the street. I mean, everybody had. Every corner had somebody. West Main Street, you couldn't go up West Main Street past Siebert's without getting nailed to buy peanuts, because they'd stop you right in the middle of the street. Until certain cops stopped that, letting us do that.
Well, one of our fundraisers that we do in the Meriden Kiwanis Club is Peanut Day. Peanut Day started when they were selling peanuts in the shell. I'm told that in the day they used to have a big parade come down through downtown to hail the fact that Peanut Day had arrived. Part of the fun of Kiwanis has always been, over the years, selling peanuts at the various locations. When I was Peanut Day chair, I gave out an award called the Golden Peanut. We gave it to the most enthusiastic peanut seller. And that year it was awarded to Kelly Moore, who would always do the street sales by the old post office. And she would always dress up in a costume of some sort, whether it be a hat or something else, and she would actually sell the most peanuts on a street route by just being super friendly, stopping traffic at the traffic light, and just getting people to know what Kiwanis was all about, and helping and asking for help, and people would generously give. It was a community event. It was a lot of fun, and people went out of their way to make it fun, and we had all the members participating, and it was a great project, a great way to raise money.
So where does the money go? And you know, it's funny, because 1997, that was a while ago, and still, who benefits from Kiwanis? Still, the beneficiaries of this club go on and on and on over the years. And when we're done doing the work and raising the money, then we give it away for worthy causes. And what could be better than that?
One of our big projects was working with the South Meriden Volunteer Fire Department. And that year we purchased for them a cold water rescue boat and cold water rescue suits for them to use in case somebody fell through the ice, say at Hanover Pond, which is in South Meriden. And it was important to have a way of getting out to somebody who fell through the ice. And they were looking for funds for this flat-bottom boat and these rescue suits that would keep the rescuers safe and warm if they had to go out on thin ice or if they fell into the water. So it was good not only to have Kiwanis working with the fire department and the volunteer fire department, but seeing these items used in real life. And it really was encouraging to me to see that Kiwanis could make a difference in our community.
My favorite Kiwanis service project has been clearly the bike rodeo that I've been involved with. You know, I think we get a variety of children out there. We teach them and their parents health and safety. We hand out free safety items, do free safety bicycle inspections. The helmets, in fact, come from proceeds that we do raise in other events that Kiwanis does, like our fried dough booth at the Daffodil Festival. So the bike rodeo is very successful because Kiwanis at the core, following a curriculum developed by Kiwanis, engages other community partners. Naturally, the police department plays a big role in bicycle safety. Our fire department in the city of Meriden is our medical first responders, and they play a big role, as does the ambulance company, Hunter's Ambulance Company. So those community partners come together to do the health and safety aspects of the bike safety rodeo.
It's a way that our club can do some hands-on service directly with the children in Meriden. And we go out for one day and we set up an obstacle course and a training course so that children can go through and learn about road hazards, learn about road signs and how it's important to obey those signs.
Well, one of my favorite, obviously, is the Daffodil Festival. I love making the dough and just the people we meet there. It's a lot of fun. I think that would be one that I like very much.
Selling fried dough sounds like it's an easy process, but it's actually a process and a production that's been honed over the years, and we have to thank Terry and Elaine Bongiovanni for spearheading this project. But because so many people participate and because it's long days, again, it develops great camaraderie and we have a lot of fun doing it. Unfortunately, you come home and you really smell like grease, but you know you put in a good day, and we're one of the top vendors at the Daffodil Festival, so that really helps us give money back to the community.
Moments that you're most proud of were probably scholarship nights. I think that over the years, thousands and thousands of dollars were given to kids that really made a difference. And everybody who has ever been in Kiwanis should be really proud of that kind of a moment. I had a young man, I met him in the grocery store, and he said to me, "You gave me a scholarship." And I went, "I did?" And his perception was that I didn't. It was Kiwanis. And he's a very successful young man today. I don't think you do that without a vehicle called Kiwanis.
Well, the projects that we involved with, the scholarships, and so many projects, all of them are all good. They serve so many people, and do it helping people that need help. And I think we're there. We've done that many times, and still continue to do it.
We gave education awards away. We have an education awards dinner. We have the Deptula contest, which is a favorite of mine, where we have 8th graders who from all around the city who compete with each other in essay writing and in speaking.
Well, yes, Education Awards is one of my babies, I guess you could say. And it's wonderful that we can deal not only with the young children, we read to the young children, we do all these things for young children, but we don't do a whole lot for the senior kids in high school. And this is the culmination to their education. Being able to receive an award from Kiwanis is, I think, a wonderful thing. And we give out at least $6,000 a year. They work, they volunteer, they get excellent grades, and they are just the most stimulating kids to listen to. So that's it's a show all in itself, just listening to the seniors speaking after they receive their awards. That makes the whole thing worthwhile.
I don't know if I have a favorite. The Deptula contest, which creates an opportunity for 8th graders to have what I call a jump start into high school. Because in high school you're going to be speaking, in high school you're going to be writing essays, but where do you get a chance to be ready, to practice a bit? And that's that 8th grade experience.
And one of my more recent favorite projects is the superhero capes that we make for the Children's Hospital. And I think what's great about that project is it's something easy that we do that brings us out for a hands-on service project that we all have so much fun doing. And that this one cape that the Kiwanis Club of Meriden gives them will bring them some sort of happiness. I think that's part of why we're all members, is to know that what we do is impacting children.
Probably Relay for Life, because my husband had cancer. I think we raised quite a bit of money for that. I think it's a great thing. But I also enjoy being the Builders Club advisor. We have been collecting tabs from soda cans, soup cans, and whatever, the metal tabs. So my husband and I drove down to Ronald McDonald House. But those tabs help to raise money to feed the 10 families that are there now with their children at Yale. Their children are seriously ill, and we helped them. We bought some food for them, and I think that was great. And I really was very proud of the students at St. Joseph's School. I think when you talk to the kids, they really enjoy community service. They want to go outside and clean up. That's number one. And they love working with the Bradley home. The elderly there are just excited to see them come, and they in turn are excited to go there.
The Kiwanis Club has not only been working with children for many years, but we like to do projects for the entire community as well. And one of those projects has been the Kiwanis Computer Center at the Meriden Public Library. Now, this project started back when computers were new on the scene and they really weren't affordable for a family to have a computer. So what the Kiwanis Club did was raise funds and then donated computers and printers to the Meriden Library so that the public would have access to a computer.
Kiwanis has given me the opportunity, first of all, to go out there and help others. I learned a whole new line of compassion with what we do for people. That's the primary thing, and what we do for children. But the other is that we just open our hearts to everyone in the club too.
Because Kiwanis has given me a great sense of accomplishment. It's made me feel whole. I'm a person who is a giver, and being able to give to children especially makes me feel whole.
In a small way, I'm making an impact in this world just by being in this club. So that would have to be truly how my life was changed when I joined Kiwanis back in 1976.
This is presented to Dr. Richard Roccapriore. 60 years of perfect attendance as a member of the Kiwanis Club of Meriden, and for his many outstanding contributions to the club. And this is given by the Kiwanis Club of Meriden. And why I got 60 years of perfect attendance, because Dr. Park and several of the members in his building, we used to meet in the back of the building every Thursday and jump in his big black car and drive to Kiwanis. And we did that every Thursday. And when he couldn't make it, somebody else would drive. And when they couldn't make it, then I would drive, because after a while he couldn't do it anymore. And I got in the habit.
Kiwanis has been a great life experience for me. I've developed professionally in the sense of my community service, my outreach and networking among fellow Kiwanians. I'm a people person, and so I take great stock in my relationship building with different people, what I can learn from them about their life experiences, professional backgrounds, and so it's been just personally and professionally rewarding for me.
It's completely shaped who I've become, and for me to really grow up with Kiwanis from high school through college and into adulthood, it's really made me the person I am today.
Kiwanis has just been an inspiration to my life and my ability to give back to the community.
I love Kiwanis because of what we do. Mostly what we do with children.
Well, because it's really a way. It's a way for me to belong to a group of people that I really like hanging out with. That's why I do it.
It's become my life in many ways. It's become an extension of family. It's just a place you go sometimes when you just want a warm and fuzzy place to be. And as I said before, I've made friends in this club, dear friends, and I can't imagine not being a part of all of it.
I love Kiwanis because I want to give back to our community.
I think the camaraderie, we have made more friends in Kiwanis than we would have ever made if we hadn't belonged.
Who said I love Kiwanis? No, of course I love Kiwanis. So, yes, I do love Kiwanis now that you think about it, because where can you find that combination? People getting together, enjoying things that they're participating in, and at the same time building a better world, one day at a time, one child at a time, when we make our impact. I can just say that it's not hard to love Kiwanis.
I love Kiwanis because it gives me an opportunity to give back to my community. Not only Meriden, but Kiwanis is part of the local community, it's part of New England, and it's part of the world community.
I love Kiwanis because we do big things. And that's what we're all about. That line from our song by Carl Wheaton, people helping people. And that's what it's all about, is humanity and making an impact, especially on children.
One of my favorite Kiwanians is George. George has had a huge impact because of his longevity with the club and all of the things that he does to help with our success.
I mean, are there Kiwanians that I admire? You bet.
How about that?
Oh, and Giannetti. I mean, if I could be somebody, I'd want to be her. I admired a lot of people for their ability to lead, for their ability to do jobs that I couldn't do.
Walter Deptula was a prince of a guy, and I would say that he affected my life.
Walt can't beat the guy. What a great guy. He was master of ceremonies so many times, and Walt used to have all these little jokes and stuff. Really, there's a guy who knew everything about a joke.
One person comes to mind, and he's sitting in the room, you know, and it would be Dave Wyskiel.
I don't have one Kiwanian that inspired me. I think every member of our club has inspired me in one way or another, and I've learned so much from the various members of our club. Our club members come from a variety of backgrounds, a variety of professions, and just a variety of different personal experiences. And each one teaches me something new every time I participate in a project or go to a club meeting. And so I don't have one inspiration. I have, with 75 members now, I have about 74 inspirations.
I think one of the people who's no longer with us is Doc Chambers, Earl Chambers. There again, Jack Harrison was another one that stood by you and helped you out.
The one that is and was my favorite Kiwanian is my father, Sanford S. Shorr. So I think my father, with his commitment to Kiwanis from when he was president of the club in Woonsocket, Rhode Island, back in 1951, I guess that would have to be the person who pointed me in the right direction, because otherwise I wouldn't have been involved in this and I would have missed out.
If I had to come up with one word that epitomizes Kiwanis, it would have to be teamwork. Through Kiwanis, we can accomplish so much more than any one person can do by themselves. You not only get one member, but you get two hands. So you've doubled the effort that you're able to do with just one person, because we have both their hands now working in service. So much service can happen, but it happens because of teamwork.
Helping others, that's two words, but that's what I would say, helping others.
Passion. It is a passionate thing when you're involved with a group of diverse people working on something that is so meaningful to you that you approach it passionately and you insist that you want to make it work and make it good.
I think the one word that epitomizes Kiwanis would be compassion.
We are doing amazing things. So Kiwanis is amazing.
It's hard to limit it to one word. That's why you picked the question, Mr. Wyskiel. That's why you're sitting in that chair. Community. We're a diverse group of people that come together all with the same intention to give back to our community in one way or another. We're different ages, different genders, different races, which represents the best cross-section of our community. We have different life experience, different professional experiences, different educational backgrounds. And yet we all come together with a common goal to go back out there in the community, get our hands a little dirty, raise some money, put that back into the community to build a stronger community.
Can I have 2 words?
Sure.
Doing good. And 3, doing good things.
I'm going to stick with people helping people because it's those 3 words that are right on target. That's the way I feel about it.
Helping, because of the people that we help and the kids that we help, and everything we do is helping.
If we listen to people helping people, the last S is success. And I think that's what the Kiwanis is about. We have to succeed.
Outreach. Because I'm not sure that I could affect a kid living half a world away from me, except that I'm actually donating to something that will affect that child. You couldn't do it. I mean, you need a vehicle, and Kiwanis is the vehicle.
Dedication and family. Those 2, I feel very strongly, is what Kiwanis is about.
I think helping children is so important because kids nowadays have a lot of baggage. I was very blessed as a child to grow up in a wonderful family, and anything that I can do to help a child experience that or to have something that will make their life a little bit better is very important to me.
Well, children are the ones that get left out in the cold, so to speak, you know, when things happen. And I think they need the help. They really other things that sometimes are intangible, to work with children, let them know that most adults are good, and like the police and the fire department are good to help them, and there are people around, the teachers, so that, and I've always loved children. Originally it was We Build, Kiwanis We Build, and then it was one child, the children, and one child at a time, and it's always focused on the children.
Because children are the future of the world, and that's where we should put our emphasis, our education, our money, our effort, because the children are most important.
Well, children are our future, not to be cliche, but they have a lot of needs. Our society today is challenged to deliver on those needs, both from the household, a lot of broken households out there that need strong community support that isn't necessarily provided, and strong community organization like Kiwanis.
I believe that helping children is important because you really have to give children a good start in the world so they can become productive adults. We need to encourage them to step outside themselves in whatever past experience they have and work toward the greater good. And I think Kiwanis allows us to do that, and Kiwanis has allowed me to help be part of that.
Well, there's so many kids today, particularly today, compared to when I grew up in a depression. I grew up, we couldn't afford a 3-cent stamp, but today the kids it seems like they're in bad shape, and all the help they can get, which Kiwanis provides, is unbelievable there.
If you affect one child, you have the potential of affecting so many more people. That child's family, his peers. It's amazing.
Our club has a tremendous amount of tradition, Kiwanis tradition, but Meriden Kiwanis tradition. And I think the challenge that I've seen in my short time in the club has been, how do we preserve those elements of tradition to maintain the integrity of what Kiwanis is about and move forward to attract new members, to grow, to take on the challenges that our community offers today, which will be ever-changing. And I think the ability of our club and its current members to meet those challenges is key to our continued success.
Kiwanis builds a better world.
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 Kiwanis builds a better world.